Are you ready to level up your appointment scheduling in Google Calendar? In this video, I'm going to show you 7 powerful tips so you can manage your meetings easily and get more out of your booked appointments. Hello everyone, Scott Friesen here at Simpletivity, helping you to get more done and enjoy less stress. And here within Google Calendar, if we come up to the Create button, we have the opportunity to create our own appointment schedules. And the very first tip that I want to share with you is something that we couldn't do when this feature was first released. And it has to do with our availability. So, for example, maybe this is going to be a coaching call. This is going to be coaching with Scott. And yes, I'm going to give them an hour of my time. But I don't want to be available all days of the week. Maybe I only want to be available on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm going to eliminate those other options. Now, when this feature was first released, we only had 2 options. We could say repeat this schedule weekly or do not repeat and just select certain dates. But now we have a third option, the ability to customize our schedule. And this can be really helpful. So for example, in my case, I don't want to be available every single week. So I'm going to come up here to this repeat weekly dropdown and I'm going to select custom. So here we can choose repeat every, anything from 1 to, I'm not even sure what the maximum is, but there's a good chance that you're probably going to be somewhere in the 1 to 4 range. I'm going to select 2 in my example. And then down below, I can customize it that much further. So for example, maybe I don't want it to start this week. That's too soon. I want it to start next week. And I don't want this to go on indefinitely. No, I only want to make these coaching services available to the end of the year. So I'm going to select December 31st and I'm going to select done. Now you'll see the dropdown has changed, but remember, you can preview this on your own calendar. If I go to today, you can see that nothing is made available. It's going to start next week. And if I go out in advance, I'm going to have a week off, then a week on, then a week off. You get the idea. So now you can customize the intervals for your weekly schedule. Now for tip number 2, we want to come down below our weekly schedule and select the scheduling window. And there are 2 things here that you don't want to miss before you create your appointment schedule. And that is the maximum time in which someone can book you, but also the minimum time in which someone can book you in advance. So starting with the maximum time, the default is 60 days and it will be checked, meaning that someone today on October 16th could book me for December 16th if I'm available on that particular day. Now, in my case, I think that's a little too far out. Maybe I only want to give people a 30-day window, meaning they can only look 30 days in advance to book me. But also keep in mind that you don't even have to have a maximum time. Remember, this particular appointment schedule is only going from now to the end of this year. It really comes down to what this appointment schedule represents. I'm going to go ahead and select this and then come down to the minimum, which may be even more important. Now, just as a review, a minimum means the minimum amount of time that someone can book you in advance. So if we look at our example here of next Tuesday, you can see that I have an appointment slot available at 9 a.m. With my current selection of 4 hours, that means that someone could theoretically book me as late as 5 a.m. that day. 5 a.m. my local time. Maybe it's different for them. Well, I'm still sleeping at 5 a.m. And even once I've gotten up a little after 6, I may not check my email until 7:30 or 8. Do I want to be surprised this close to that appointment time that I've got someone that I'm meeting with at 9 a.m.? Maybe I need to prepare. Maybe I want to do some research on this individual or this company in advance. So in my case, I find that 4 hours is far too close. I usually stretch this out to at least 16 hours, if not for a full 24 hours. But again, you can change this based on your needs. Now, I would highly recommend that you never uncheck this box. Why? Because that means that someone could book you just a minute before your availability and really catch you off guard or surprise you or maybe make you show up for that appointment. So make sure that you have the minimum selected and the number of hours appropriate to your needs. Now for tip number 3, we're going to come down to the booked appointment settings. We're going to expand this option here and look at our buffer time. Now by default, this is going to be unchecked, but I want to ask you a question. How often do you finish your appointments exactly at the top of the hour or a few minutes before? If that's the case, maybe you're okay with leaving this unchecked. But if you're in the habit of going overtime or want to give yourself at least a short bio break before you get into your next appointment, you may want to add a buffer time. So by selecting this option here, we can then adjust either the number of minutes or the number of hours. Now the default is 30 minutes, so immediately you can see what this has done to my schedule. It has spaced out and reduced the total number of appointments that I'm available on those days. And yes, keep in mind that Google's appointment scheduling feature will never double book you. I already have some meetings here on my schedule, so it will never book me during those times there. But you can adjust the number of minutes. Maybe I just want to give myself a 10-minute buffer. You can see what that looks like here as well. So partially spacing out your appointments so you can give yourself a little break and enough time to get to the next meeting. Now, I want to remind you, if you're looking for ways to simplify your day and get organized with Google, why not subscribe right here to the Simpletivity channel? Each and every week, I bring you new tips for people who use Google Apps and Google-friendly products. So click subscribe below so you can take advantage of a more simple day. Now, the one below can also be helpful in managing your days, and this can be a great way to make sure that you don't overbook yourself or maybe don't overwork yourself, again, depending on what this appointment scheduling represents. For example, with my coaching calls, I usually go very in-depth with my clients. I put in an awful lot of energy, and so the last thing I want is to have 7 or 8 coaching calls in a single day. Well, if I want to limit that under my maximum bookings per day, I can select this checkbox and then select the appropriate number. So maybe I'm going to take this down to 2, meaning that the moment a second appointment is confirmed on any one of my dates, none of the other slots will be made publicly available. So, for example, if someone books me at 9 a.m. on this Thursday, and then someone books me at 1 p.m., as soon as this second booking is made, and it doesn't matter what order those bookings are made, none of the other available slots will be shown or made available. This can be really helpful, again, depending on the types of appointments that you're booking and making sure that you have perhaps a bit of variety depending on how many different appointment scheduling slots that you have created. Now, the next tip on our list is another new feature that was not available just a few months ago, and that is still here within the booked appointment settings. Under guest permissions, we now have a checkbox which we can toggle on or off, allowing guests to invite others. Again, this was not an option that we had available to us, and by default, it will be selected as checked, meaning that whoever books this particular appointment does have the opportunity to invite or add other email addresses. But if this is meant to be a one-on-one call and you want to make sure it stays that way, you can come down here and uncheck this box. So depending on your needs, make sure that you review the guest permissions. So in my example appointment schedule, I'm going to go ahead and click that next button to give you a tip on the following screen just before we save and actually create this appointment schedule. And it has to do with adding a video conferencing link. Now, if you're a Google Meet user, appointment scheduling has made this very, very easy. Under location and conferencing, here we can select how and where to meet. By selecting this dropdown, we can select a Google Meet video conferencing, which will automatically generate a link once the booking is completed. But what if you're not a Google Meet user? And what if you prefer another service such as Zoom? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that and make it easy for both yourself, but also for your guests. In this case, we don't want to select an in-person meeting because that's going to force you to select a physical location. We don't want to select a phone call because that's going to force the user to provide their phone number. We're going to come here and select none / to be specified later. You'll see that the dropdown actually resorts to the first label that we saw here. And instead, we're going to come down to the description. And this makes a lot of sense in many ways because I think most of us are used to finding the video conferencing link or the Zoom link within the description. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to say click here to join the Zoom meeting, something like that, something very simple. Now you're probably saying, well, wait a minute, that's just a piece of text. Yes, but we're going to turn this into a link. Within your Zoom account, I'm going to switch tabs. We can find our personal meeting room. That means it's a Zoom link and a Zoom meeting space that we can use again and again and again. We don't have to generate a new one each and every time. On the left-hand side, if we come down to meetings, and then within meetings, we want to select the personal room tab. Here we can find our personal room. Now you could come down to the bottom here and select copy invitation. That's going to copy all of this information and then paste it into our event. But I find that that's often too much information when all we need to share is this link right here. But we don't want to share this messy link, which actually includes password information and the meeting ID. We're going to come over here and say copy the link. That's going to copy it to our clipboard. We're going to come back to our Google Calendar appointment scheduling, and then I'm going to select that piece of text and then select Insert Link. And you guessed it, we're going to paste in that link and say OK. And now we have a clickable link which will immediately launch their Zoom meetings. Last but not least, my final tip is something that I find many users forget that they can do with appointment scheduling, and that is down here with the booking form. Now, by expanding this, you'll see that by default, it will ask everyone to include their first and last name along with their email address. That makes perfect sense. You want to know who you're meeting with and where to send the invitation. But down below, we have the opportunity to add additional items. So if I select this button, I could request a phone number if I wanted to, but by selecting this dropdown, I can select a custom item. And because this is a coaching call, I might ask something like, what do you want to talk about? Maybe ask them a little more information about their business or what they would like to discuss. And then you can choose if you want to make it required or not. Maybe I want to force the user to answer that question, so I'm going to select required and say add item. And now when they go to book this appointment, they will have to answer this question, enter in at least something within the provided text field before they can complete the booking. And don't forget, you're not limited to just one custom field. I could come down here and add another custom question if I wanted to or not. So take advantage of the booking form, get to know the people that you're meeting with a little bit more so that both of you can have a more impactful and more helpful meeting. Next, do you have further questions or maybe your own tips on how to get the most out of appointment scheduling right here within Google Calendar? Be sure to let me know by leaving a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, being productive does not need to be difficult. In fact, it's very simple.